Investigative journalist John Grobler has been reporting on the plundering of our forests for more than a year now, and it seems his pleas to government to put an end to all this have fallen on deaf ears. Check this out.
Fundamentally, the problem lies with the Ministry of Agriculture and specifically with the Directorate of Forestry. We've now had the new Forestry Act in place since 2001 and subsequent to 2015, we've had all the regulations promulgated as well, which makes it very clear what has to be done in order to harvest wood. Now, none of these regulations are being abided by. Why do we have these laws then if we are not going to abide by those? What is fundamentally happening up there is that because of this omission of duties, a failure of duties by the director, Joseph Ahilwa, they're taking advantage of the fact that this left now basically a loophole by which to now exploit the forest. I mean, they're basically going in and they're chopping out all the best trees, the oldest trees that they can find, and it amounts to plundering. There's no other word for it, because they're buying those trees from Joseph Ahilwa and company, and whoever else is taking a kickback on this. They're buying trees for $200 a tree, and they're selling the wood from one of those trees that they're buying for $200 for anything up to thousands of dollars per cubic meter. A tree, a mature rosewood tree, would yield anything between 5 and 6 cubic meters, and a rosewood, A-grade rosewood, goes for between 12 and 14,000 Namibian dollar equivalent on the wholesale market. So you can imagine, how much is being plundered. It's more than just the trees. What they are doing is that they're basically overloading every one of those trucks, because they're trying to get it as much as possible as they can on every truck that is being brought out. Now, I've tried everything I can to try and stop this. I laid a charge with the Anti-Corruption Commission, because it's very clear to me that there are acts of omission happening here in return for illegal gains by those involved. It would appear that the Ministry of Land Reform, Utoni Nyoma, is directly involved in this, which is really very strange. What kind of reform is this where you are basically wiping out a resource like this for the kind of profits that get made by it? $200 per tree, but thousands to those who are selling it at the same time. So where does he fit into all of this? There is no benefit to the local community. Moreover than that, that area where it sits between the Okavango swamps at the bottom and then the Zambezi River Valley on the east, and then the Kwandu-Kubango area up to the northwest, is a critical wildlife corridor. So you have all the wildlife moving between all these habitats in between. That whole area is actually one habitat, but now you have human settlement in the middle, which is a problem. And this is why this thing was, the state forest was created in the first place, is to facilitate, the movement of game. Now, what they're now doing is that they are disrupting all of this. There's also massive fraud going on here, because the wood that they're exporting at Walvis Bay is massively undervalued. I don't care what customs tells you. They are undervaluing that wood phenomenally by fractions of thousands, basically. And then over that 1,400 kilometers that wood has to be moved, all the roads are getting damaged. We have regulations that that you cannot load more than 35 tons max on any truck. One container filled with wood, rosewood. This is very dense, hard, heavy wood. One container weighs a minimum of 32 tons. They're loading 2 per truck. Normally you would have your truck confiscated and face huge fines when things like this happen.
John suspects that there are underhanded tactics at play.
What I know is going on is that somebody is paying off the Weybridge people in Katima Malilo to turn a blind eye to these trucks sneaking through, because what they do is they move down to Wenela on the Zambian side, the Sheki side of the border, and then they kind of wait until late Friday afternoon, and then with that increased flow of people, they ship these trucks through. Nobody basically inspects these trucks. The scanner at Wenela has not worked for over 2 years now. It's not been repaired. Yeah, and then they park the trucks on the Namibian side, and then they wait. Late Saturday, late Friday night, when it's dark, when all our policemen, who seem to only work from 8 till 5 these days, when they go off duty, then they push through. And they run through. They sometimes avoid the Murirani gate by going through, via Oshikati, via Verda gate, around the Toshapans, in order to avoid Murirani gate or Ochivaroga, because there are Weybridges everywhere. And this is what they're trying to avoid. I called a guy who was offering these deals, and they were offering 80,000 dollars per load. It's huge money. But 20,000 of that is to go to the Weybridge, and then the rest gets however many bribes you can avoid to pay is what you keep in your pocket. So this is the problem. First of all, you're stripping out millions with every container that you move out. That's lost from our economy forever. This is how our economies get hollowed out. Secondly, the damage done to the infrastructure is phenomenal. What do roads cost? It's $7-8 million, $8 million per kilometer. Those roads will all have to be rebuilt after that, and it's all going to China. It's all going to China. It's all related to Ho Shu King and his dealings with the Tony Nyoma. However that works, I don't know. They don't want to talk about it. Whenever I call this Ho character up, he just swears at me. So I would love to get up close and personal with this guy. But the fact of the matter is that the political responsibility lies with Tony Nyoma and our current Minister of Agriculture. They are the responsible ones. The Minister of Agriculture is actually not implementing the law as it stands now for 17 years. That's grounds for dismissal. The director should have been fired a long time ago. Because this guy doesn't know what he's doing. The times that I took him through interviews and I started questioning him about, well, where's the gazette that proclaims this forest? Because in terms of the law, every state forest, of which there are 6 acknowledged state forests in this country, every one of those have to be proclaimed. He's not managed to do so in 17 years. What are the chances he's going to actually be able to do that before he retires? I'll tell you, 0. He's not going to do it. And it is so for a very simple reason that, that creates the opportunity for them to loot the state forest, all in the name of building this tobacco plantation, this tobacco farm. Oh, that is an absurdity in itself. That soil up there is not suited for anything but the kind of vegetation you see there, because it's sand. It's sand that they're growing. Those trees go really deep before they get to the water table. Smaller plants don't survive. You have to water heavily, and you have to use a lot of fertilizer, which of course creates all kinds of pollution problems in the long run. And then that area is geostrategically critical. If you look at the geology, ignore the borders for the moment. You have the Zambezi coming down, you have all the other rivers. This is literally the back door into Central Africa. And what Tony and his friends are now doing is proposing to just hand this over to a foreign power, right there on our border. If you were to go to China and apply for a piece of land right there on the North Korean border where you now want to plant anything or do anything, you know what will happen. You'll get deported before you can say good morning. They now are trying on an ad hoc basis to legalize the whole looting up there by now doing an EIA. After they've cut all this wood. You know, you don't do environmental impact assessment after you've mowed down the forest. You do that before, you know, to see if it is justifiable. Yeah. So this is process that they are trying to legitimize, you know, the looting. So, you know, everybody up in Katima should go to those meetings and tell that EIA guy, you know, what they think of his plan and what it is that it means to them, yeah, in terms of, you know, bringing benefits to the local community, not make some guy in our luxury suburbs of Windhoek a rich guy.
What alerted me to the fact that this export of rosewood continues was this post. Dear Hatutale Transport, you not only help that Chinese Ho Hui Shong plunder our country, but you're also helping them destroy our roads. That truck of yours, one of the 4 spotted past weekend as they were sneaking down to Warfish Bay, is overloaded to a minimum of 60 tons. Whatever you think you're making now, you'll be spending on replacing all your wheel bearings because they are damaged now. It means your drivers have been bribing the latest Weybridge staff in Katima Mulilo and everywhere else along the way down to the port. I hope that one at least seizes a wheel bearing and burn a little so that you learn that greed is its own punishment. I asked John what we can do as citizens to bring an end to this plundering of our natural resources.
Just keep on reporting it. People must just keep on contacting me. If you see those trucks on the road, take a photograph with your cell phone and WhatsApp it to me or email it to me or send it to me on Facebook. You know, we just have to keep on applying pressure until they hear what is going on, because you know, the way things work in Namibia is, we have an issue, we make a big noise about it, and then the next thing pops up and we just forget about what was going on here. Yeah, we have to keep on going back to these things. This has been going on for over a year now, nearly 2 years now. So I'm not giving up, and I hope no one else will. Just keep on reporting.
Naturally, I called the Directorate of Forestry's Joseph Hailwa and the Office of Lands Reform Minister Utoni Nuoma for answers, and was consequently informed that the Minister Utoni is on sick leave until the 17th of July and will be back in the office on the 30th of July following consultations on the land conference. Joseph Hailwa from the Agriculture Ministry is also on leave until next week. That's all I have for you this week. Please follow It's a Wrap with Erica Gebhardt on Facebook and Instagram, and subscribe to my YouTube page, It's a Wrap with Erica Gebhardt, to stay woke on the stories that matter to you and to me.